Have you ever asked yourself, what happens when you die? Is it true that everything just ends, or is there something that continues on, somewhere else? Could there be another version of you, still alive, just in a world you cannot see? Welcome to Buddha Balance, where modern science meets ancient wisdom and spiritual depth. In today's video, we're stepping into a theory that's shaken the world of science. Quantum immortality, the idea that your consciousness never truly disappears, but instead keeps living on, across countless branches of parallel universes. And if that's true, who are you, really? Where does your consciousness come from? And are you truly awake, or just drifting through millions of realities without even realizing it? If you're drawn to journeys like this, don't forget to tap like to help fuel our energy. Subscribe so you never miss a video. And share this if you feel it might touch another soul out there. Thank you for being part of the Buddha Balance community. Now, take a deep breath. And let's step into a parallel universe of awareness, together. What is quantum? A doorway to an extraordinary universe. When you close your eyes, everything around you seems to disappear. But have you ever wondered, does the world still exist when no one is looking? That question, seemingly simple, turns out to be the key to one of humanity's most mind-blowing discoveries, quantum mechanics. From classical certainty to the quantum revolution. For centuries, we believed the universe was like a giant clock, operating with rigid, predictable rules. This view was laid down by Isaac Newton, the world as a machine. If we knew the position and velocity of every particle, we could predict the future, like playing chess with God. But then, in the early 20th century, a quiet revolution began. Scientists started observing tiny particles, electrons, photons, and discovered that they didn't behave like marbles, but something far stranger. Wave-particle duality, reality flows like poetry. A photon can be a particle, but also a wave. It can pass through two slits at once. It only chooses to become a particle the moment we observe it. The famous double-slit experiment revealed that only when there's an observer does the particle take shape. Otherwise, it exists as a wave of probability, immaterial, unlocalized. This isn't just science, it's a philosophical shockwave. Could consciousness itself be what shapes reality? Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, you can't know everything. Heisenberg showed us that it's impossible to know both the exact position and velocity of a particle. At the quantum level, reality is a dance of probability, not absolute truth. This is no longer a world of linear cause and effect. Everything exists as overlapping possibilities, until collapsed by an act of observation. The glow of randomness, or the music of consciousness? Einstein didn't like this idea. He once said, God does not play dice with the universe. But quantum mechanics suggests otherwise. Reality isn't fixed until consciousness steps in. The universe isn't just out there, it becomes real through the encounter with the observer. This is the foundation for dazzling ideas, from the multiverse, to quantum immortality, to a conscious cosmos. The quantum world, where reality is potential, not destiny. The quantum world is unlike anything we experience daily. In it, all possibilities coexist. A particle can be in two places at once. A cat can be both alive and dead, until you open the box. And from this strange realm arises a bold hypothesis. Quantum immortality, the idea that we never truly die, but rather, consciousness shifts to another branch of reality where we're still alive. Sounds far-fetched? Yet it is quantum science itself that dares to imagine what once seemed mystical. Quantum is not just physics, it's a mirror of how we see ourselves. At the edge of quantum vision, we begin to understand. Consciousness is not a passenger, it's the driver. Reality isn't a fixed painting, it's a song waiting to be played. And quantum immortality may be just one of its many melodies. 2. Consciousness and reality, the observer and the observed. Consciousness is fundamental. Matter exists only when perceived. Max Planck, father of quantum physics. If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it truly make a sound? That classic philosophical question finds support in modern science. At the quantum level, a particle doesn't exist until it's observed. No listener, no sound. No observer, no defined position. The world doesn't exist independently of consciousness. It arises with it. Consciousness is no longer a bystander, it's the very shaper of the game. In the double-slit experiment, when unobserved, light passes through both slits like a wave, creating interference. But when observed, it chooses a single slit, behaving like a particle. It's as if the photon waits for human decision before forming itself. It's not the nature of matter that changes, it's the focus of consciousness that transforms how it appears. Reality is not a finished painting. It's a masterpiece still being painted each time we look at it. If consciousness can influence matter, could it also exist independent of the brain? Many modern scientists and philosophers, like David Chalmers, Roger Penrose, and Bernardo Kastrup, have posed a radical question. Is consciousness the foundation of the universe, rather than a byproduct of biological brains? This idea is known as panpsychism, the belief that everything, from atoms to humans, possesses a seed of consciousness. It echoes the Buddha's teaching. Mind is the forerunner. Mind is the master. Mind creates all things. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "Mind precedes all phenomena. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-made. If one speaks or acts with a polluted mind, suffering follows as the wheel follows the foot of the ox." At first glance, it may sound like moral advice. But within it lies a quantum truth. The reality we experience depends on the state of consciousness we carry. When the mind is clear, the world becomes bright. When the mind is chaotic, reality unravels in confusion. If consciousness is fundamental, not fully tied to the physical body, then a profound question arises. Could it continue to exist even after the body dissolves? This is the basis of the quantum immortality hypothesis, which we'll explore in the next section. But even now, science is opening the door to a bold possibility. Death may not be an end, but a shift of consciousness into another branch of reality. One of the key insights of psychology and quantum physics is this. We don't experience objective reality. We experience a version of reality filtered through our own consciousness. It's like looking through tinted glass. If our mind is clouded by anxiety, the world appears dark. If our mind is peaceful, everything seems luminous. So the reality we live in is not entirely out there. It's shaped from within. Rather than victims of a random world, we are the ones planting seeds in the soil of reality. Consciousness doesn't just reflect the world. It molds it. And if we learn to be still, to observe without judgment, the world begins to shift in the subtlest and most beautiful ways. When the mind is at peace, all things are at peace. When the mind shines, the world shines. Three, many worlds and the immortality of consciousness, quantum immortality. If you never experienced death, did you ever truly die? All possibilities happen, each one forms its own universe. In the classical world of Newton and linear logic, when you flip a coin, only one result actually occurs, heads or tails. You turn left or right. You make a choice, and the other option simply ceases to exist. But in the quantum world, where electrons can exist in multiple positions at once, where light is both wave and particle, things become far stranger. According to the many worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957, with every choice and every random event, all possible outcomes occur, but in different, parallel universes. Imagine this. You flip a coin. In one universe, it lands heads. In another, it lands tails. And both of those universes actually exist, split from the same moment in time. You stand at a fork in the road, deciding whether to turn left or right. If you go left, one reality unfolds. But if you turn right, a completely different universe, where you made a different choice, also springs into existence. There's no longer this or that. Now it's this and that, in different universes. The universe branches like an infinite tree. Each time something happens, a blink of the eye, buying a lottery ticket, or a quantum fluctuation, the universe branches. Imagine the universe as a vast, living tree. Every decision, every possibility, sprouts a new branch. And the strange part is, you, or rather, many versions of you, continue to live in each of those branches. In one universe, you're an artist. In another, you live in a different city, love a different person, live a completely different life. And all of those versions truly exist. We don't live in a single reality, but in an infinite network. Classical science taught us that there is only one real reality, and all others are just hypotheticals. But many worlds whispers something else. The other choices didn't vanish, they simply shifted into another dimension. Like light passing through a prism and splitting into 7 colors, the universe splits into countless branches, refracted through your choices. So, who are you among infinite yous? If there are infinite versions of you, each living a different story, who are you among them all? What makes this the version you call yourself? The answer lies in consciousness, which, unlike the universe, doesn't branch. It flows, like a viewer riding along a thread of destiny, while that thread lies among an endless tapestry of other threads. The big question, if the universe keeps branching, is there a version of you that never dies? This is where the theory of quantum immortality enters, and opens a staggering idea. Consciousness doesn't die. It simply shifts to a reality in which you survive. From the many worlds hypothesis arises a haunting question. If all outcomes happen, then in some universes, you don't die. Quantum immortality says, with every situation where death is possible, there is at least one universe where you survive. And because consciousness cannot experience its own death, you will always wake up in a version of reality where you are still alive. You might die in countless other worlds, but your consciousness keeps drifting toward the ones in which you survive. A strange story, waking up after the accident. A man survives a violent car crash, bloodied, unconscious. He believes he was meant to die. But he wakes up. The doctors say his injuries are minor. Still, something feels off. A street sign is spelled differently. A relative remembers something he doesn't recall doing. A favorite song has a slightly altered melody. Has he crossed into another universe, one where he didn't die? Death as transformation, a teaching from the Buddha. In many Buddhist sutras, the Buddha spoke of deathlessness, not as the destruction of self, but as the transformation of consciousness. The mind leaves one body, and continues its journey through another form, in another realm. Form arises from conditions and fades with conditions. The mind neither begins nor ends, it only transforms. This resonates deeply with quantum immortality. Consciousness doesn't cease, it merely changes the context in which it appears. Imagine you're watching a movie projected on a screen. If the screen is torn, the movie doesn't end, you just need to find another screen. In the same way, consciousness is the projector. The body is the screen. When the body breaks, the light doesn't die, it just shines onto a different screen, in another universe, in another form. A deeper view, you may have already died in other universes. You may have already lived through branches of the multiverse where you didn't survive. But because consciousness cannot remain in those timelines, you don't remember them. You only remember the one stream of reality where you continue to exist. That's why, no matter how many times death has occurred in other universes, you always remain the one who lives. If quantum immortality is true, then death is not an ending, it's a portal into another reality where you go on, still learning, still becoming. We don't die. We simply change settings. And if that's true, then every time you open your eyes in the morning, every breath, every moment, is a miracle beyond probability. For philosophical debates around quantum immortality. The quantum immortality hypothesis sounds like a strange piece of science fiction. Yet it has sparked intense debate among scientists, philosophers, materialists, and spiritual thinkers alike. Is the idea of immortality more religious than scientific? Many traditional physicists find this hypothesis difficult to accept, as it touches on questions once reserved for theology and metaphysics. Life after death, an immortal soul, reincarnation, and parallel worlds. Some argue that it risks blurring the line between science and mysticism, turning quantum mechanics into a foundation for unprovable beliefs. Yet proponents respond. If the equations support it mathematically, and if it's consistent within our models of the universe, why reject it simply because it resembles ancient beliefs? Can we truly never die? According to the hypothesis, your consciousness will always slip into the universes where you survive even after accidents, illnesses, or near-death moments. For example, if you're in a car crash, there may be countless universes where you die instantly, but also others where you survive or escape unharmed. And your stream of subjective consciousness will only exist in those branches where you're still alive. This leads to a paradoxical consequence. I, as a conscious subject, will never experience my own death. I will only witness the deaths of others. But if that's true, does death even exist? Or is it just a limited experience, tied to one thread of reality? But if I'm immortal, why do I still see others die? One of the strongest objections is, if quantum immortality is real, why do I still lose loved ones? Do they disappear from my universe? The answer lies in the subjective nature of experience. In the branch where you observe, others may still die, because your consciousness doesn't follow theirs. But they, in another universe, continue living, because their consciousness persists in a version where death didn't occur. It's like two ships sailing parallel, each person only aware of their own journey. Is this true immortality, or just eternal channel switching? Here's a simple metaphor. You're watching a TV show. When it ends, you change the channel, and keep watching. Similarly, when one version of you is about to die, your consciousness shifts to a different stream, one where you survive. But is that really immortality? Or are you endlessly escaping death, while still subject to aging, suffering, loneliness, and change? Can one truly live forever, even as the body withers and the soul grows weary? Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Meaning only arises when there is a limit. And death is the limit of life." If you never die, what makes you afraid? What teaches you to cherish, to love, to choose more mindfully? Does life still hold meaning if it's no longer finite? Where science meets ancient wisdom. Interestingly, many ancient traditions, from Buddhism to Advaita Vedanta to Kabbalah, have long taught a similar truth. Consciousness cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Buddhism calls this impermanence. Death is not an end, but a transition. The mind stream flows from one form into another. As quantum physics touches the edges of consciousness beyond death, it inadvertently finds resonance with ancient spiritual insight. Quantum immortality is a beautiful conflict between science, philosophy, and spirituality. It does not claim certainty. It does not deny or affirm. It opens questions, profound, poetic, and unsettling, about life, death, being, and the nature of awareness. And perhaps, the most precious insight is not whether you are immortal, but that in each moment, you are alive, fully awake to the wonder of existence. Five, spiritual, psychological, and Buddhist implications. The hypothesis of quantum immortality is not merely a bold thought experiment in theoretical physics. It also serves as a bridge between modern science and ancient wisdom. In this section, we don't aim to mystify science, but to explore the deep resonances between quantum mechanics, consciousness, and the spiritual path to liberation, especially through the lens of Buddhism. When modern science returns to the roots of consciousness. For thousands of years, humanity believed that matter was the foundation of reality. But quantum mechanics has shaken that belief. Experiments like the double slit, the observer effect, and quantum entanglement suggest consciousness may not simply emerge from matter, it may be what shapes matter. This has led physicists like Eugene Wigner, John Wheeler, and more recently Donald Hoffman to suggest perhaps it's not that consciousness arises from matter, but that matter arises from consciousness. A conclusion that leaves classical physics bewildered, but makes ancient spiritual traditions gently smile, as if to say, we've known this all along. Buddhism, especially Mahayana and Vajrayana, teach mind is neither born nor destroyed. Only the physical form is impermanent. The Heart Sutra. In Buddhist cosmology, consciousness has no beginning and no end. It is a continuous flow, transforming from one life to another like waves upon the ocean, never disappearing, only changing form. If quantum immortality suggests that consciousness slips into another universe to continue existing, Buddhism teaches that the mind stream moves into a new life, shaped by karma and intention. Beings may have countless bodies, but only one continuous stream of consciousness. Yogacara teachings. Quantum immortality or quantum rebirth? Here lies a fascinating overlap. Though they come from different origins, quantum immortality and rebirth in Buddhism share key ideas. Both deny absolute death. Both say consciousness doesn't end at death, it continues, though in different forms. Both imply multiple simultaneous pathways in which your journey unfolds. The difference? Buddhism adds ethical law, karma, where every thought and deed leaves an imprint that shapes your future lives. Quantum physics, by contrast, remains neutral, it offers no judgment, no moral compass. A powerful question emerges. If I'm quantum immortal, will I endlessly exist across infinite universes, even if some are filled with pain, isolation, or decay? This is where Buddhism offers a way out. Nirvana is not eternal continuation, it's freedom from the cycle altogether. To live endlessly without awakening, that is not immortality, but drifting without direction. Thich Nhat Hanh. If the many worlds theory is correct, you can continue endlessly. But you can also wake up, and no longer be bound to any stream at all. This is where science may fall silent, but meditation and inner wisdom can go further. Instead of carelessness, this understanding deepens life. Knowing that every choice creates a branch of reality makes you live more mindfully. Knowing you may continue, but not necessarily enjoy, makes you value every breath. It's not about how long you live, but whether you're awake in each moment. Milarepa. The Return, Quantum Physics, the Dharma, and the Path Home. Quantum mechanics reveals billions of possible realities. But Buddhism speaks of the one true reality, beyond space, time, and duality. When you transcend all distinctions, all clinging, and all illusions, you no longer need to escape death. because you have returned to the unborn, undying true nature of mind. Quantum immortality doesn't promise you'll never die. Rather, it hints that consciousness doesn't easily vanish. Buddhism doesn't promise you eternal life either. It simply shows you this. Don't seek eternal life outside of you. Return to the eternal awareness that's already within you. Six, conclusion, the grand game of the universe. We began this journey with a simple yet profound question. What happens when we die? And gradually, through the lenses of quantum physics, philosophy, spirituality, and Buddhism, we discovered perhaps death is not an end, but a threshold. And beyond it lies a universe of infinite possibilities waiting to be stepped into. We don't simply die, we transform. The quantum immortality hypothesis doesn't claim that the body is immortal. It suggests that consciousness cannot be completely erased. It always slides into another branch of the universe, where life continues. Like light, it never truly vanishes. It merely transforms, changes direction, and reappears in another dimension. In that light, death is no longer a period. It becomes a comma in the eternal symphony of existence. But if all possibilities unfold, what is the meaning? You may continue forever. But are you truly alive? You may never die. But are you awake? This is the question only deep inner awareness can answer. Science may say, you will always exist somewhere. But only spiritual wisdom can help you ask, is that existence liberated? To exist without awakening is to drift in endless dreams across infinite worlds. To awaken is to exit the dream, moment by moment. Zen saying, instead of asking, am I immortal? Ask, who is the one experiencing that immortality? If you die in one universe and continue in another, who is you? Your body? Your memories? Your emotions? Or something deeper, the pure stream of awareness? This is where the Buddhist teaching of non-self becomes more essential than ever. The self you cling to is but a collection of passing phenomena. Return to nirvana, where there is no birth, no death, no separation. Mahaparinirva Sutra. The universe doesn't want you to win, it wants you to wake up. If the many worlds hypothesis is true, you don't need to choose right or avoid wrong, because every possibility unfolds. But that doesn't make your choices meaningless. Quite the opposite. Because there are billions of versions of you. Each action you take becomes even more sacred. Every time you choose kindness over selfishness, wisdom over ignorance, you shift yourself into a higher branch of reality. Not through time machines, but through your inner will and conscious presence. Buddhism does not deny the existence of realms or multiverses. But ultimately, what the Buddha pointed to was this. No matter which realm you're in, you can awaken if you return to the knowing mind. That mind, the pure awareness, is unborn, undying, and unmoved. It is present in every universe, in every timeline, in every moment. To touch it is enlightenment. To live from it is liberation. Quantum immortality is a pioneering melody in the song of modern human thought. It's not perfect. It's still controversial. But it invites us to pause and look deeply into the nature of being. To no longer see death as final. To no longer see matter as the only foundation. To no longer view consciousness as a passive byproduct. Instead, to cherish every breath, every moment, every choice. Because who knows? You may be standing at a cosmic crossroads, where each step paints a new reality. Don't just live long, live deeply. Don't just exist, awaken. Because whether you are a ripple in the quantum sea, or a flicker in the multiverse, your mind can still be the moonlight that illuminates all 10 directions. If death is merely a doorway, then right now, you're standing before millions of doors, each leading to a different world. And with every choice you make, you're silently deciding which world you'll step into. You don't need to wait until death to awaken. You can begin right now by living deeply, mindfully, and fully aware of each present moment. Thank you for walking this journey with Buddha Balance. If this content has planted even a single seed of awakening within you, help us plant that seed in others by liking this video, subscribing to the channel to continue exploring consciousness and the cosmos together, and sharing this with your fellow seekers of the spirit. The universe is always grateful for every vibration you create. And so are we. See you again in a deeper reality.